I rank where the view is nothing less than phenomenal. For how I express and project from my abdominal. The only view better, both my daddy and my mama know. No living parents, my sons give me balance. My wife is my serenity, this mic is my identity. The world is foul enough, that's why I write without obscenities. Provoking danger with broken language and spoken anguish. Begging to get hurt, why would you ask to go through changes? Yes, Lord, life's a chessboard, master the angles. Control the tempo, be the one who holds the info. Acknowledge is just as deadly as machete swings. When spoken, the truth is as potent as that Medellin. While others swear the style is free, I just let it ring. Our time is undervalued, soldiers make us better kings. My fans on my shoulder, reaching after better things. Today I take the shot, for them I'd rather set the screen.
My mama told me follow my dreams. My daddy told me get it by any means. Stand tall, make him bow to a king. But I've evolved, you can see the result. Look in my eyes when you speaking to God.
Life and for those who be caught up in using what I was called with the muse. I guess they call it proving I'm more than an artist. Penciling out my darkest while stenciling out a harvest. And storing what gets me from A to B, just like garages. Instrumental with collages. Envision what I've been drawing. Broadway to give you rhythm like the great Lena on. So bent on, found comfort in the storm. Find peace and on when you see them others perform. Organized chaos, outcasted like hey ya.
Yo, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's the #1 Chief Rocket Knicks Universe, your main man, Uncle Freezie, and welcome to the premiere. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, welcome to the premiere Knicks in the Nighttime joint. The Knicks at Night podcast. Salute, salute, salute. Salute, salute, salute. Everybody, listen, man. I see y'all. JJ, what's good? HRM, good. What's good, man? I see you. Ivory 10. What's good, man? I see you. Let's see who else? Real King is in the building. What's good? What's good? King Embert is in the building. Just Knicks, man. What's good? Mr. Dunris is in the building. Salute, salute, salute. I see y'all, man. So when I decided to do the joint, man, like when I was thinking about what I would say to y'all, and what I would say was like, you know, do I come in here with like fire and brimstone, or do I come in here and talk to y'all as fellow Knicks fans? Brandon Williams, what's good, man? Nick G, 2K1, salute. Salute. So I didn't know if I was going to come in and be an angry Knicks fan, or, you know, come in like be, you know, one of y'all or whatever. So what I will do is keep it a stack with you, right? So I'm just gonna keep it real with you, right? And so I try to do that all the time. Try to mix what I'm feeling versus what I know about basketball versus what I know about the Knicks versus, or not versus, but along with how you guys feel as fans, right? Because the way I feel about something is my thing, right? How you guys feel about stuff is your thing. And we come to this place, right? We gather at this place here to share our feelings about what we saw, right? How we can make things better. And sometimes just to vent, right? Venting is good. Venting is a good thing, right? Because you don't want to be the whistling tea kettle, right? You don't want to eventually be the whistling tea kettle where things get out of control and something happens. So I'll start by saying how I felt going into the All-Star break, right? Right. Let me start by saying was how I felt going into the All-Star break. So I felt like, so my feeling going into the NBA All-Star break was Cat gets a chance to rest his knee. Maybe the hand will be better after the All-Star break. a few days off to rest. All the guys that played a ton of minutes before the All-Star break get a chance to rest. Right? Jalen Brunson gets a chance to rest. It's kind of what I felt. I felt like also, and this is me being honest with you, the fan, the Knicks fan, and the general, chat and everything of Knicks on everything YouTube. I felt like the loss to the Lakers a few Saturday nights ago was a fluke. I felt like it was the 1 in 82, right? And then a week after that, I felt like the loss to the Celtics they kind of caught us at the right time, right? We were trying to figure some stuff out and they were already rolling. And then we go into the All-Star break. I'm thinking, well, after we come out of the All-Star break and Tom Thibodeau had some time to prepare and we had some time to rest, wouldn't that mean that the Knicks could beat anybody on a planet if Tom Thibodeau had time to prepare and the team had time to rest? That's exactly what that means. Because that was the narrative we were saying when we were beating the Denver Nuggets, when we were beating the Memphis Grizzlies, when we were beating the Sacramento Kings, when we were beating all those teams out on the West Coast, from the West Coast, when we were beating them, we were telling ourselves that if Tibbs gets time to prepare and this team is rested, then we can beat anybody on the planet. That's what people were saying going into the All-Star break. That's what we were saying. Right? And I know we have short memories, right? We have short memories. Part of it is by design, and part of it is a coping mechanism. Right? Real King in the building. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights is in the building. Salute. Andios is in the building. Salute. So we have short memories. Part of it's by design, and part of it is a coping mechanism. Right? The one thing about today's loss that bothers me, right? I'm not going to blame the players or the coach or the organization or the owner. Part of the thing that bothers me, and listen, one part of the thing that bothers me is I feel like the Knicks are scared of the Boston Celtics. And that bothers me. I feel like the Knicks don't feel like they can beat the Boston Celtics. I think that I honestly not only think I believe that is a thing. I believe this team feels like they can't beat Boston. I feel like that's a thing. The other thing, and we'll speak about these things more in depth as the conversation progresses. As you guys add your comments in the chat, we'll incorporate a few of the things that y'all want to talk about and such. My other thing that I believe is true is this team cannot win nationally televised games. in the spotlight. Right. And this is not about OG or Cat or Bridges, because this point, the aforementioned point, not winning games on national television, has been a thing going back about 10 years. Right. It's been a thing going back about 10 years. Even going all the way back to when Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis played for the Pacers, and we played the Pacers on a nationally televised game on a Saturday night, and they beat the doors off us. All the way back to, think about the name I just said. I said Victor Oladipo. A young, bouncy, spry Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis destroyed us in a nationally televised game. Going back even further than that. So you couple my feelings that this team is afraid of Boston. They're afraid of Boston. Right? I don't think they gave their best effort. And if you look at the score will indicate that they probably didn't give their best effort, but score aside, you can give your best effort and still lose. Right? You can give your best effort and still lose. It's a thing. This is real life. But I'm at a point, though, with us being afraid of Boston, not winning nationally televised games. I feel as if I am in a place as a Knicks fan that I'm almost ready to just like throw in the towel, because I don't have the emotional stamina to deal with this thing over and over and over again. I found myself the other day, like, for instance, I found myself the other day thinking, when does baseball season start, man? I can start watching some Yankees and Mets. Right? Instead of watching the Knicks get blown out in Cleveland on a Friday night in Cleveland, I can watch Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, or something. Right? One of the things that really disgusted me today is when Cat hurt his knee and was hopping towards the bench. Tom Thibodeau turned his back and walked away from Cat. Tom Thibodeau saw this thing happen. Now, mind you, I don't know what Tom Thibodeau was saying. He might have been telling the staff, like, yo, make sure you take care of Cat. You know what I'm saying? Y'all clear off the bench so Cat can have somewhere to sit. Man, y'all check Cat. He may have been saying that. But the optics of it were that Tom Thibodeau don't give a shit about certain players. And then on top of that, on top of all of that, Karl Anthony Towns on a bad knee played more minutes than any other Knick played today. Am I saying Cat is tough? No, I'm not saying Cat is tough. I'm not saying Cat is tough, and I'm not here to start a Cat hive. Quite honestly, I love his offense and I hate his defense. I love his offense and I hate his defense. I mean, what? It's just what it is. I love Cat's offense. I hate his defense. What? That's what it is. I guess that makes me neutral. Right. One of the things that um I heard today in an interview, and I had heard people saying all year, is that, this is a work in progress. Give it time. It'll work. Um, and I'm calling that BS. I'm calling that BS. Tom Thibodeau is about to finish his 5th season as head coach of the Knicks. 5th. His 5th season. Joe Mazzulla is in his 3rd season as coach of the Boston Celtics, and he has 2 trips to the NBA Finals already. That's going to be a sticking point for me going forward, right? And I know that seems like it's not fair until we have that discussion. Tom Thibodeau is finishing up his 5th season as coach of the Knicks, and Joe Mazzulla is finishing his 3rd season as head coach of the Celtics, and Joe Mazzulla has 2 trips to the finals. As a fan, going into the All-Star break, I felt like the rest would, prepare us for this stretch run. At the same time, as somebody who I feel like is relatively dialed in to the Knicks, I know the Knicks always come out of the All-Star break looking terrible. I know this. I said going into the All-Star break, hey man, when we come out of the All-Star break, we're going to look terrible. And then I said coming out of the All-Star break, hey man, it wouldn't surprise me if we lose to Chicago. Well, surprise, we didn't lose to Chicago. We beat them in overtime. And Cleveland washed the floor with us on the night after, on the second end of a back-to-back. But they played a back-to-back also. And then the Celtics washed us up in another nationally televised game. Ultimately, where I am with it as a Knicks fan is before the All-Star break, I felt like there was hope. After the All-Star break, I knew we would struggle based on our history with Tom Thibodeau, Leon Rose. I kind of figured we'd start off after the All-Star break 0-3. But as an optimist, you would think that your team could go 2-3 in that stretch. Maybe we beat Chicago and Cleveland and lose to Boston, or maybe we lose to Chicago, get ourselves together and beat Cleveland and Boston, or whichever order you put it in. You never think for a moment that it would take a heroic effort from Mikal Bridges on a 7-footer against Chicago in order for you to win. I never thought in a million years that we would be in a tussle with the Chicago Bulls and then get the brakes beat off us by Cleveland and then get the brakes beat off us by the Celtics. But what we realize is that our roster while it is flawed, the roster is not perfect. You can tell the roster has not been maximized. Let me state it that way. How do we get multiple days and games of Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby missing? How do we not maximize two of our most expensive assets? Oh, JJ hit. Okay. JJ read my mind. So I was going to talk about this. How do you not maximize two of your most valuable assets? How do two great NBA players in other places come to New York only to become less than what they were before they got here? The fact that you give up all those picks for Mikal Bridges and pick swaps and players for Mikal Bridges only lets you know that Mikal Bridges is a great NBA player. The fact that you gave up so much for OG Anunoby only lets you know that OG Anunoby is a great NBA player. OG Anunoby is our second highest paid player. OG Anunoby is our second highest paid player. OG Anunoby is not a bad player. The league knows this because when OG Anunoby was a free agent this summer, he was highly sought after. Teams probably were going to pay him more than we paid him. We could offer more years. OG Anunoby is a great NBA player. Is he an all-star? No. Right? Is he in that group right underneath all-stars? I think so. Is OG Anunoby in that group of players like Cade Cunningham, Jared Jackson, Trey Murphy? Yes, I think so. I think so. Is Mikal Bridges a franchise player? I think so. Could you build a team around Mikal Bridges? I think so. I think so. Now, here's the thing. Do you blame the player for what they provide on the court? Do you blame the player for following orders? Do you blame the player for not being assertive or more assertive? Or do you do the opposite? Hey, these guys are team players. These guys follow orders. These guys put team first. You can look at it one of two ways. These guys are system guys, man. They're bought into team chemistry. They're bought into team. These guys sacrifice their numbers. These guys do anything for the team to win. These guys follow orders. Or you could say on the flip side of that, you could say, legitimately say, Mikal Bridges is not assertive enough. And Mikal Bridges is not as aggressive as he should be. Right? We paid too much for Mikal Bridges. You could legitimately say all those things. You could be on either side of the conversation. The same thing with OG Anunoby, the same thing with Karl Anthony Towns. In my mind, it comes down to, and this is not, I'm not making a knock or a dig on anyone. In my mind, the more we go, the further we go along, the more I ask myself, is Jalen Brunson the right player to build a championship team around? Because this is what a Jalen Brunson championship team is going to look like. It's going to look like an Allen Iverson type team, right? Where you gotta get a whole bunch of wings to go around Allen Iverson to defend and knock down shots and grind your way through a season. Is this the way that we should build a team? Right? So in my heart, I feel like I know the answer. Or let me restate. In my mind, I feel like I know the answer, but my heart don't want to go with that. My heart is telling me Jalen Brunson is the guy. And if you do it right, you can win a championship with Jalen Brunson being your lead guy. That's what my heart's telling me. That's what my heart said. My heart is telling me Jalen Brunson's the guy. My mind is telling me no. My mind is telling me too many things have to be perfect for Allen Iverson to win a championship. That's what my mind is telling me. My mind is telling me that when everything has to be perfect, your chances for being perfect all the time are slim. The perfect example of this is the way that we lost to Indiana. If you want to know what type of team this is, look back at the Indiana series. And I know I have to remind some of y'all occasionally on about how we looked against Indiana. Just remember, the Knicks were up 2-0 against Indiana. Deuce McBride had a lower leg injury. Jalen Brunson had a sprained foot or whatever they were calling. We don't know for sure. We just know Jalen Brunson was hobbled. The Knicks had a 2-0 series lead against Indiana. In game 3, I think we had a 5-point lead. Nick G, what did we had like a 5-point lead against Indiana late in game 3, right? If the Knicks win game 3, the Knicks are up 3-0, and the Pacers have to beat us 4 games in a row. Ribs is in the building. Salute. The Knicks are up 2-0 against Indiana with the lead late in game 3. Here's the thing, though. Same thing happened in Philly, in the Philly series. Anybody remember the Philly series, the series before that? We legitimately got out-coached in that Philly series. Philadelphia just didn't have the weapons. A championship level coach, right? Nick Nurse outfoxed us with less talent. Things happen. Nick Nurse was a championship level coach. I don't know if he won a championship. Nick Nurse knocked off a dynasty. Rick Carlisle, I think Rick Carlisle is a championship level coach. Also, I think Rick Carlisle won a championship. And the reason why I'm going down this path is not that I feel like it's a Tom Thibodeau issue or Jalen Brunson is not a great NBA player. What I think is the combination of both gives me Larry Brown, Allen Iverson vibes. Man, listen, Larry Brown is a Hall of Fame level coach. Allen Iverson is one of the greatest players to ever play. They probably should have won multiple NBA titles. But when everything has to be 100% perfect 100% of the time, anytime there's a variance, we lose. Anytime there is any variance, we lose. For instance, the Knicks were getting blown out in this game today. I'm gonna take this off the screen. I'm gonna take that one off because I don't know if I'm really feeling like the Knicks were getting blown out today, and then Tom Thibodeau decides to have OG Anunoby guard Jason Tatum. And now we were thinking the whole time, like, why is that not an obvious choice? Jason Tatum started turning the ball over. Jason Tatum even stopped dribbling around OG Anunoby. And Jalen Brown hit a couple of shots, and Tibbs put OG back on Jalen Brown. And before you know it, the lead goes from 4 to 19 again. So what does that tell you? What that tells me is that we got outfoxed. What this looks like from the beginning is what this should have looked like from the beginning is Cat playing Kristaps Porzingis man to man. Man to man. OG Anunoby playing Jason Tatum man to man. Mikal Bridges playing Jalen Brown man to man. Now, what that opens you up for is Derek White and Drew Holiday killing us. Right? That's what that opens us up for. That opens us up for Josh Hart guarding Derek White and Jalen Brunson guarding Drew Holiday. And what I would tell you is I would rather have sat through 2.5 hours of watching Drew Holiday score 40 on Jalen Brunson as opposed to all the Celtics weapons armed and ready to go. I believe in OG Anunoby. I believe OG Anunoby is a great NBA player. I believe in Mikal Bridges. I believe Mikal Bridges is a great NBA player. What I don't believe in is all these cross matches and non-switches and weird communication faux pas. And we wind up getting Karl-Anthony Towns guarding Jason Tatum on the perimeter, or these weird defenses where Deuce McBride has to guard Jason Tatum 3 trips down the floor consecutively. In what world are we confident with Deuce McBride guarding Jason Tatum 3 straight trips down the floor? In what world do we live in where Deuce McBride and Mikal Bridges should be playing the same amount of minutes and have the same responsibilities? And while I was watching the game, people were hitting me up like, yo, you see Cat is getting torched on defense, man. Look at Cat. Cat letting Porzingis shoot. No, man, that's the defensive scheme that we run. Cat has on that play, you saw Cat, when you see they ran the screen and roll, right? Cat is responsible for baseline and cutters off the wing. That's the reason why you drop back there, so that guys won't cut in behind you to the rim and get dunks. So now you're getting Cat dropping back, and Porzingis is 8 feet away shooting threes. These dudes are not dumb. These dudes know Porzingis can shoot. These dudes know Tatum can shoot. You getting our guy Mikal Bridges smashed up on screens all game, taking him out of the play, wearing that man down. Then he can't provide you any offense because you value Josh Hart rebounding more. I'm here to tell y'all, as somebody that nobody knows everything about basketball. So anybody that says they know everything about basketball is a liar. But people can know a lot about basketball. And I'm here to tell you that as long as Mikal Bridges, a wing player, is guarding the primary whoever it is every night, you take away Mikal Bridges' superpowers. It's like, hey, Superman, listen, I know you dynamic, bro, but carry this. I want you to carry this kryptonite with you as you go fight the bad guys. How is it that Mikal Bridges, a great NBA player, and he's a great NBA player, Leon Rose would not have paid that much to acquire Mikal Bridges if he were not a great NBA player? Teams would not have offered what they were offering for Mikal Bridges if he were not a great NBA player. Are we using him to his capabilities here? No. I think we're doing the opposite. OG Anunoby is a great NBA player. Are we using OG Anunoby to his full capability? Absolutely not. But if OG Anunoby wasn't a great NBA player, his asking price would not have been as high as it was. Teams know this. My belief is that the chess master is not using his chess pieces to their full capability because he has faith in something that worked in 2008 but is not working in 2025. And I know basketball, things go around and they come around. Things go around and they come around. Things go around and come. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. It's like when I watch OKC's defense, I understand that they're running principles from the UNLV team that had Stacey Augmon, Larry Johnson, Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony, Felton Spencer, George Ackles, Moses Scurry. I understand that OKC is using those type of principles. Match up and pass off. Match up, pass off guys. Match up against them. Overplay guys. Make guys contest everything. Ultimately, what I'm saying to you guys, and I appreciate y'all being here, like listening to me share my thoughts, and I appreciate y'all sharing your thoughts as well. Ultimately, I feel like building a championship contender around Jalen Brunson is going to be tough. Does that mean Jalen Brunson's a bad player. No. It was hard building a championship contender around Steve Nash. Y'all remember Steve Nash? Anybody remember Steve Nash in his prime? It was tough building a championship contender around Steve Nash. And Steve Nash was a better player than Jalen Brunson. So I'm not knocking Jalen Brunson, and neither am I calling Jalen Brunson Steve Nash. What I'm saying is that certain archetype of player is gonna provide you a difficult task to build a championship contender. I'm not saying Brunson is Nash. I'll give another example, Kevin Johnson. It was tough building a championship team around Kevin Johnson. And not that any of those teams didn't win games, they won a bunch of games and they looked good doing it. But in the grand scheme of things, we have to realize that for Jalen Brunson's greatness and leadership on offense, there are some things in other places where you have to get it absolutely right. If you don't get it right, it's not going to work. You can't get it close and win a championship. You have to get it exactly right. My thought is this, everybody, and I'm gonna do this. I'll get out ahead of it. I don't think you can have Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart on the floor at the same time. Now, mind you, Josh Hart almost had a triple-double today. Josh Hart is a great NBA player. Josh Hart is a great NBA player. He almost had a triple-double today. But if you ask me, if you want me to be honest, I would say if you keep Josh Hart, right, Josh Hart would play best with a SGA type of point guard, right? Josh Hart would be best with a Cade Cunningham type point guard. Right? That's if you keep Josh Hart, that's the perfect player to play with him. In my mind, the perfect complement. A big, tall, switchable guy that can dribble, pass, shoot, defend to make up for Josh Hart's lack of size. Josh Hart's a great player, right? But in my mind, and this is my opinion, and I'm not saying that it's right, it's the correct, it's my opinion based off of what I've seen over the years. Josh Hart is perfect playing with would be perfect playing with a big guard. Right? But say in some weird bizarro twist of fate, you want to keep Josh Hart. I mean, you would say for instance, you want to upgrade Josh Hart, you keep Brunson, then you have to get a Jaren Jackson Jr. type to play next to Cat. You got to have a 6'9", 6'10", rim protecting guy that can shoot and that is willing to shoot. Right? If you have Jalen Brunson on the floor, you can't have another small guy on the floor with him that's not a guard. Right? You just can't, because we're small and unathletic, or short, because Jalen Brunson's not small, he's just short. You have a short, unathletic guy at point guard, and then you have a short wing player in Josh Hart. And then off the bench, you bring in a 6'1" wing player in Deuce McBride, and another short wing player in Landry Shamet. And then we wonder why we lose these matchups. Jalen Brunson is short. Josh Hart is short. Deuce McBride is short. Landry Shamet is short. And then we wonder why these deflections always wind up going to the other team. Right? Y'all saw today, in today's game, the rebound that Luke Cornett got. The rebound that Luke Cornett got for the putback in the or not the putback, I think he got fouled. He may have got fouled. I forget. But that ball just went across the top of people's heads and past their fingers and straight to Luke Cornett. The basketball is round. In a perfect world, the fit would have been Precious. But Precious is not a shooter. Precious is not a scorer. One of the things I wanted to mention to everybody, right? One of the things I wanted to mention to y'all is in February, with Josh Hart and OG out, Precious Achiuwa averaged 12 points a game and 9 rebounds. Precious averaged 12, 9. He shot 52% from the floor and averaged about a steal and some change per game. That's with either OG out or Josh out or both out. That man averaged 12 and 9. And I don't think he took many shots. I think he may have taken, Precious averaged 12 points on 9 shots a game, basically. Today, with OG Anunoby back and with Josh Hart back, OG Anunoby got you 0 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists in 15 minutes. Before those guys came back, Precious Achiuwa was averaging 37 minutes a night. Today he played 15. And so I told y'all how I feel, right? I told you I expressed how I feel to y'all, right? Like I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I feel like regardless what the roster looks like, I feel like the same. I feel the same way I felt this time last year. I felt the same way I felt this time last year. This time last year, I felt like certain guys on the roster were underperforming and we needed to upgrade at certain positions. That's what I felt like last February. February 2024, this is what I felt like. But you know what? That's the same way I felt like in February 2023. And it's the same way I felt in February 2022. Like we have talent on the roster, it's not being used right. We probably need to go acquire some guys, some help. But then at one point, you're like, maybe it's the guy pressing the buttons. Yeah, man. East Blue Drew, remember last February, hey man, remember last February, Randall was out with a shoulder separation. You didn't know when he was coming back. This time last year, Randall had only been out 3 weeks, and he was trying to rehab his shoulder. Right? This time last year, OG Anunoby was out. We didn't know when he was coming back. This time last year, Mitchell Robinson was hurt. This time last year, Alec Burks had a shoulder injury. This time last year, Bogey Bogdanovic had a foot injury. We didn't know how bad it was. We didn't know that it limited his mobility. We just thought he looks old and slow. We didn't know that his foot injury was more serious than we were told. All we knew this time last year is when things were going to hell, Dante DiVincenzo would bail us out. Anybody remember the dude Dante DiVincenzo? Has it been that long that we forgot about Dante DiVincenzo? Anybody remember Dante DiVincenzo? I think we forgot about Dante DiVincenzo that fast. So nobody remembered Dante DiVincenzo having clutch moments for us last year. I'm not saying that Dante DiVincenzo was the best player we had, but he was certainly a great compliment to Jalen Brunson. Did y'all know this? Did y'all know this? That with Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson shot 43% from three. Without Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson is shooting 39% from three. And I think we figured that Deuce McBride could do that Dante DiVincenzo stuff, right? I think we figured that all we had to do was just replace Dante, and we'll be all right. Dante, Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet will make up for what Dante DiVincenzo did for us last year. No. What I saw today was embarrassing, but that's obvious. But what I also saw today is something repetitive. The Knicks are scared of Boston. The Knicks didn't go out and kind of impress their will on Boston. East Blue Drew, you remember when we used to start the show quoting the great American poet, and I used to say, "There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. You can run, but you can't hide forever." Remember that? We used to start the Knicks Morning Drive with that. It's where I feel like we are. I know that the random answers are going to be wide ranging and varying, right? I'm here to tell you though, I don't know if there is an answer. I don't know if there is an answer. Do you change coaches? Do you change your starting lineup? Do you feature different guys? DSJ is in the building. Salute. Do you change your rotations? Do you experiment wildly? Give an example. Give you an example. Do you here's a wide a crazy thing I want you to think about, right? This is not my suggestion. This is just me tossing something out there. I don't like it. I'm just tossing it out there. Do you make Ariel Hukporti your starting center the rest of the way? And have Cat be a jumbo wing? Right? That way you have Josh Hart, Precious, Cam, and Deuce as your second four. Do you start Ariel Hukporti and have Karl-Anthony Towns play minutes as a jumbo wing? I'm not in favor of it, but at the same time, you got to have Cat healthy in the playoffs. Sorry. Is Tom Thibodeau willing to play a rookie center? See, because if he's willing to play a rookie center, why is he not playing a rookie wing over Landry Shamet? Yeah, Jimmy Henry, you heard it here first. Huck Porty at the 5. Yeah, you heard it here first. I just threw that out there. That's not a thing. That's just something for us to talk about. Do you do that in order to keep Karl Anthony Towns healthy and to keep the floor balanced? See, because here's the thing, or here's my thing. I still don't think Tom Thibodeau trusts Landry Shamet. I'm gonna. How many minutes did Landry Shamet play today? Let me see. How many minutes did Landry Shamet play today? Landry Shamet played 5 minutes today, everybody. He knocked down 2 threes and Tibbs sat him. Landry Shamet had 6 points, 2 rebounds, a steal, and 5 minutes of basketball. DSJ, this is what I was telling Anthony D this morning. That was the point that I was telling Anthony D on Old School Knicks, but And the Cleveland Cavaliers are not the only team in the Eastern Conference that's a contender that made a coaching change. You know who else made a coaching change in the last 5 years? Boston. They had 3 coaches in the last 5 years. Boston had 3 head coaches in the last 5 seasons. You know who didn't make a coaching change recently? Indiana. And look how they're mid. You know who did make a coaching change? You know who did have 3 coaches in the last 5 years? Milwaukee. Milwaukee has had 3 coaching changes in the last 5 years. Am I saying, Cardiac Knicks? Yeah, the Lakers too. The Sacramento Kings too made a coaching change whenever. The Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns have 3 head coaches in the last 5 years. Now, am I saying fire Tibbs? Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. And also, are we as people are we as people, are we as human beings visibly frustrated and upset and maybe slightly emotional about a bad loss on national TV to a historic rival? Yes. But here's also what I say to that. You as the fan have the right to be upset if you choose to be. If you are upset and frustrated about a loss to a historic rival on national TV by a lot, you have that right. And I'm not the Gestapo. I'm not gonna tell you how you should or shouldn't feel. What I'm saying is do you. The two things that had me the most upset today, actually, well, there were a bunch of things that had me frustrated, right? But the two things that made me okay, so I'll break it down for you. The Josh Hart flop had me upset. I'm thinking, like, what are you doing in a time we need you to be serious? You out here clowning around. Y'all remember that? Remember the challenge when they went back and they showed it, and Drew Holiday just like put his arm around Josh to stop Josh from falling, and then Josh Hart flopped like he was Erica Kane on All My Children. And then they go to the replay, show the replay, and everybody laughing. I'm thinking, like, what the hell is funny? Is this where we are? We can't beat you, so we're gonna pal around and chum it up. We can't beat you, so we're gonna pal around and chum it up. Here's the other thing. Cat is in the post or in the high post. I think he had Derek White or somebody posted up, right? Deuce McBride is fumbling all over himself, but Cat doesn't have room in the high post because in the low post, Josh Hart, dumbass for that one play, is posting up Kristaps Porzingis. Cat can't catch the ball in the high post in a mismatch because in the low post on the same side, Josh Hart is trying to post up Kristaps Porzingis. And y'all might think that's funny, right? Y'all might think, yeah, ha ha ha, Josh Hart was posting up Porzingis, ha ha ha. The reason why it's not funny to me, is because Josh Hart never posts up anybody. Josh Hart plays against small guards all the time and won't post them up. So when he gets the tallest player in the NBA or the second tallest player in the NBA, this dude is trying to post him up. That's what I'm saying. Like these small things, right? These small things, like we'll overlook like a lot of things, right? Like we're like, Cat is giving up those floaters in the paint, man. Cat defense is trash. OG Anunoby disappears. Mikal Bridges and Deuce are the same player. Like we'll say all these, but we won't ever say that Jalen Brunson gets rubbed off a screen and gets detached from his man and has to scramble and find somebody else to defend. We won't say that, but that's cool though, because of how much workload he carries on offense. So I'm not, the Jalen Brunson defense stuff don't bother me a bit at all, because he tries. He tries. What I'm saying is that the combination of a small team is not going to win in today's NBA. It's just not. And what boggles my mind is that you have size on the bench and you won't use it. You have size on the bench and you won't use it. And then we start subbing guys. As soon as the subs start, we get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, to a point where Precious Achiuwa at 6'8" is our big. My long-term fear is we're going to get a team like the Detroit Pistons in the first round and lose. And not because I really rock with King and Deuce. Not because I really rock with King and Deuce, the Pistons content creators. I really like those guys. I really like those guys. It's not because I, really rock with them dudes. I appreciate them, man. And if y'all get a chance, man, check them out. It's not because I don't want to lose to them and then hear their mouth for the next 10 years. It's because we feel like we have championship aspirations, but we have lottery type, whatever. That's my fear. My long-term fear. In the 3-6 matchup, the Knicks face the Pistons and lose. And Knicks fans are going to be like, yo, run it back. All right, everybody. That's all I got. I'm going to get out of here. Thank y'all for coming through and rocking with me. I appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace, y'all.